Alrighty. Here's another gloom and doom video. I'm just gonna warn you up front. It's gonna be gloom and doom. So, if you don't want to watch gloom and doom, you don't have to. It's all right. You can go ahead and stop it right now. It's all right. I'm not gonna make you feel bad for that. But the future of the U.S. I've talked about balkanization, but more to the point, what's gonna happen? At least in my opinion. Well, what's gonna happen is this: is the folks that have the money are going to be in gated communities, and they're going to be guarded by the military, or probably more realistically by mercenary groups paid for by big corporations. The vast majority of people, though, are going to be left out in the cold, literally. And basically, people are going to be starving. It's going to be like Mad Max, basically, in my opinion. People are going to go further into these, people are going to abandon the coastal areas because of climate change. California, San Diego and, Los Angeles and these other places will be abandoned. Massachusetts, New York, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, et cetera, Florida. All these places will be abandoned and people will be going further inland. Now, in my opinion, I think that they are going to choose a place like Wyoming. Because Wyoming is the least populated state. It is remote. And, I imagine that they, that within time they would build fancy gated communities for, the elites, the ones that don't have their fancy Montana ranches and whatnot already. And I know I said Wyoming, but yeah, Montana kind of fits, big Montana ranch. But anyway. And you will see an increasingly, different sort of elitism. Now, of course, the the social structure in these gated communities would be just the same, probably even worse so than inside, in today's world. It will be very cutthroat. It will be very, very much, if you slip up or if you screw up at your job, which probably is within that gated community, I imagine that they wouldn't want you to travel too much. So they would keep you within that community. If you were an accountant or whichever, if you did IT work or if you were a plumber or whatever the case may be, maybe they keep a private little group. Who knows? I'm spitballing, but they wouldn't want you to leave that little area. So it's a huge enclosed area where, maybe you get driven around in a golf cart. Who the hell knows? But, if you fuck up, they will throw you out. And they will treat it like a job where it's like your stuff will be your corporation given house or apartment, whichever, will be emptied out, and they'll say, yeah, your stuff is on the outside. Here is your here's your gun. Good luck to you. And everything else is going to be Mad Max. I really do believe that. That's the future of what climate change is. People can talk about nationalism and, increasing xenophobia. Yeah, that's guaranteed, though. We know that. We know the U.S. is racist. We know. Belabor the point. All right, we're evil. Yeah, fine, we're evil. I get tired of it, People don't want to be told they're evil, I don't know. It's a funny thing about people, It's like we know. I think folks in general know they're bad and they just don't care. I was going to call this, I thought about calling this like the future of sociopathy and, this and that, every man for themselves. But I was like, well, that's a stupid idea. Same thing with, I was going to include fetishism because Folks are like, well, yeah, Vietnam did so great. It's like against COVID. Yeah, it did. You're right. They locked down. They did better. You're right. Yeah. Thing is, though, how does that help this country? It doesn't. Instead, the U.S. is going to, I mean, the thing is that, yeah, go ahead and hate America. I get it. I get it. But the thing is, most of that hate comes from people that actually live in the U.S., And it's like, you're stuck here the same as me, man. So, you can go ahead and, spout all that stuff that you saw in the video. Okay. You still got to deal with people, man. I don't know. It just, that's just the cold hard reality. And what'll happen? And let me paint another very dreary picture. What'll happen on the outside? Well, on the outside, you're going to have luxury destroyed buildings. You're going to have luxury abandoned mansions that I'm sure warlords are going to take over. Politics. Forget about it. Forget about it. It's gone. The politicians have already entered their little area. They will give lip service to the ordinary people, but they will not leave their little areas. They won't do it. The U.S. will stay in a state of, the dark ages for many, many decades while the world continues to be destroyed. And, people like Elon Musk are able to terraform on Mars. Maybe he'll be working with the Russians and Chinese. Who knows? But that is the future as I see it. The gated communities of folks to, keep the elites happy. And elites can mean a lot of different things, but, the movers and the shakers of the world that are loyal to the system. And everyone else that isn't considered loyal will be left out in the cold, and we'll have to join some gang or join some private army, which may or may not be good. I don't know. While everyone else is just a peasant starving, some will have to, kill their neighbor and everything else, That is pretty damn stark, isn't it? Once again, just like I say about balkanization, I do continue to believe that balkanization will happen. I do continue to believe it because because I want to live in a Mad Max sort of fantasy where it's just like, you can die quickly, or you live in some idea like it's the Terminator or something like that, right? You're going to see the world, you want to see it burn at this point, That's kind of the ultimate accelerationist sort of mindset, just to let it burn and, be ready to see, everything crumble around you, that sort of, that stalker, it's like the game Stalker, a game that has been ruined by people like, his boys. He's been ruined by people like him, but still, that's the sort of idea, isn't it? It doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't. But as far as I see, that's what's going to happen. And this is very, very basic shit. But I do think that's what's going to happen. And it could be Wyoming, it could be wherever, but it's going to be somewhere deeply continental, Alaska, they're just going to be abandoned. Russians will retake Alaska, And many states are just going to be left behind, Texas is probably going to be, half underwater already. So, that's the reality of it. That's the reality of it. The abandoned oil well, the oil derricks and the big oil wells out there in the sea. It's like, well, what is that bullshit game? But they're going to be used as platforms for pirates, probably. Who knows? Like I say, I mean, this is just spitballing. I don't think this is so far out of the realm of possibility. I know other people are thinking it. I know other people are. I know it. It's not a mystery. But I do think that is the future. A dystopian future where, a mix of water world where some idiots are going to try to, be pirates and whatnot, where others are going to, be stuck on land, just horribly malnutritioned and maybe they're high or whatever. But this is where we are. This is where we are in the system. You can feel it in the air. People can lie to themselves and be like, yeah, it's great. Oh, I'm going to go get drunk. But we know, we feel it deep in our hearts that something's going to happen. That's a cold piece of work, isn't it? But I think that's what's going to happen. And this is just, this is just the beginning. There are so many other elements to this that I have no idea about. But, I imagine this too. Might as well tell you all my crazy thoughts. That way you can just say, ha ha, he's nuts. I'm not as nuts as he is. And that's fine. You should, if you want to lie that over me, that is perfectly all right. But the thing is that, maybe there is a civil war in the U.S. Maybe there is this balkanization. And you'll have folks that live in these gated communities protected by, mercenaries and private military PMCs. Not the, anyway. And what will happen is that these folks, if there is a civil war and then it ends, you will have these cowardice people who, behind their gated communities, who will say, I fought fascism. I fought the evil that was out there. And in reality, they stayed in their little gated communities. And maybe they went outside once and they shot a gun one time or they shot in the air. And that's how they see themselves. That's their way of fighting fascism. But yeah. I can laugh right now. Maybe I'll cry later. But I don't even have it in me to cry anymore. All you can do is just keep going. All you can do is just keep going while you see the road behind you turn into salt, That's all we can do, right? Just keep dragging ourselves forward, kicking and screaming. I don't know how you can do that. I guess, you're laying on the ground and somehow you dislocate your elbows or something like that and continue to drag yourself. But you got to get it out. Like I say, this is the therapy. This is therapy for me. It's much easier to do this than write some spurgy comment. Because I see these comments that come up, I'll see these comments of somebody that will comment on my comment from like 2 or 3 years ago. I'm like, holy shit, that's cringe. Delete. Holy shit, delete. I'd rather get my crazy thoughts out on here. Much easier. I think I've covered all I wanted to cover. I know y'all are like, holy shit, this guy is nuts. This guy is out of his gourd. Or you could say, yeah, I think that too. And if you feel that way, you can go ahead and subscribe for more of this hot mess sort of content. So I hope y'all enjoy that. See you later, and goodbye.